The House of Representatives is temporarily paralyzed after a bipartisan group of lawmakers came together over proxy voting for new parents. 9 Republicans joined Democrats to tank a procedural rule that would have blocked a petition to allow new mothers and fathers to vote by proxy. Democratic Congresswoman Brittany Pettersen is making headlines for holding her 1-month-old son as she spoke in favor of the resolution on the House floor. And Congresswoman Pettersen joins me now for more. Congresswoman, thank you for coming on. I know it's a busy time, and we can see that from the fact that you are holding your baby as we speak. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Walk me through this. You say you face an impossible decision after your son was born prematurely. What was that decision? Why did it feel impossible?
It felt impossible because I was put in a situation where I was grappling with prioritizing the health and well-being of my newborn, who I could not leave for days. It's 24/7 care. It's when they're the most vulnerable in their entire life, where they need their parents and especially their mom the most. And representing my constituents for a critical vote that also healthcare and the lives of so many of my constituents were on the line. So, you know, it was a very difficult decision to fly across the country with Sam. And it's just a decision that nobody should have to make. We have the ability in 2025 to make sure that our voices and our constituents' voices are represented here, even when we have a medical reason for not being able to be here in person. You know, this is the way things were done hundreds of years ago. I think that we can accommodate for the new workplace challenges here in Congress to make sure more women and young families can be represented here.
Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson argued that proxy voting is the start of a slippery slope that could lead to more and more members voting remotely. What's your response to that?
That this is a discussion that we get to have and vote on in our body, and he shouldn't be scared of those conversations when they're limited for, you know, medical conditions, for not being able to be here in person. We should have that conversation. When we look at Republican-led, when during the Trump administration previously, they brought paid family leave for federal employees. You know, if we have narrow reasons why people can have their votes represented here, if they can't be here in person, that's something that we should be able to vote on. And that's my message to Speaker Johnson is just let us vote.
I also want to ask you about the president's tariffs announcement later today. The administration says these tariffs will boost jobs, create revenue to help balance the budget, prevent other countries from ripping us off, and that they can be used as a negotiating tool to try to crack down on things like illegal immigration and drug trafficking. And we have seen some of those negotiations already taking place with Mexico and Canada, for example. So what's your response to the administration saying this may be short-term pain, but ultimately this will be a great thing for our country?
Absolutely not. We know that this is going to hit small businesses incredibly hard. It's already hitting them hard. People are looking elsewhere to do business, who, you know, were once allies with the United States, and making sure that we were supporting each other with trade agreements. And this is going to be the largest tax on Americans since World War II. I am devastated that this is going to move forward. I was hopeful that maybe they would get enough pushback that this wouldn't actually come to fruition. We'll see what they roll out today. But once again, Trump ran on reducing costs for families. That's why they voted for him, even though nobody believes that this is a good person. They were willing to put away those beliefs about him if they thought their lives were going to get better. And since day one, he has done nothing to focus on rising costs for families, and in fact has done the opposite. So I am very worried about our small businesses. I'm worried about our allies and our stance in the world and what this means for the long term.
Recent polling has also shown Democratic voters want Democratic lawmakers to do more to stand up against Republicans in this administration. What do you think of Senator Cory Booker's record-breaking speech on the Senate floor, for example? Senator Sanders taking that tour. Do you think those moves are effective? And what more can Democrats do without control of the House, the Senate, or the executive branch?
So this is definitely what comes up when I'm meeting with my constituents the most, is people want to know that we're fighting back. I think that's why we had so many positive responses when I brought Sam to the floor as a 4-week-old to vote no on their disastrous budget proposal. But you know, the reality is we are not in the majority in either chamber or the presidency, but just because we're not in the majority and we're not in power does not mean that we're powerless. And so it's really going to be all of us working together with building that groundswell of support to push back. That's how we're going to overcome what they're doing. We have to show up at their town halls if they're unwilling to meet with our constituents. We have to show up at their offices. We have to protest. We have to speak out. And I want people to know that Democrats, that we are fighting, and we need to continue this fight ahead. It's going to be a tough couple of years.
All right, Democratic Representative Brittany Pettersen, and Sam of Colorado. He did great. Thank you.
Thanks so much.